In this lesson, we're going to see how we can use videos that have green screens and then key out that green screen to add our own footage. So I'm going to just get straight into the import. You have 4 videos, and I'm going to start with the easier one, which is this guy and a normal background. So let's have a look at our clips. I believe this was it. Yep. So we have this guy in front of a green screen. I'm going to lower the resolution. And you can see that it's a perfectly flat green. There's no wrinkles. And the lighting is perfect, meaning that our subject is well lit. And also keep in mind that when you're using green screens, as in when you have a subject in front of a green screen, you want to make sure that that person is not wearing any green. Because then we would key out, let's say, his shirt if he was wearing green. So that is why you want to make sure that your subject is wearing a different color than the background. More specifically, he isn't wearing any green. Right, and then we have a background that we're gonna bring it in later. And you saw that because I brought this guy in without creating a composition, this video is now my composition. I'm gonna rename this real quick. Let's call it guy. Right, in order to remove the green and then be left with the subject alone, we need to do something called keying. And basically what that means is that you will go on the layer that has the green screen, go to Effects up here, and then come down to Keying. And down here we want to get Key Light 1.2. And this is what you're supposed to see. It's going to open up this panel. You can also do that from here, but I'm going to close this so we can see more of our video. Right, so we have a bunch of options here, but the most important thing is when you get the eyedropper tool to key out your color. What that means is that in the screen color, it's asking you the color of the screen that you want to get rid of. So right now it's black. We got to get the eyedropper tool. And instead of selecting somewhere far off, you want to select the green that is closest to your subject. So that would be, you could go for anywhere around him, but I'm going to go with this part. And with a single click, do that again. Pause my video first. Alright, pause the video and then grab it. You can see instead of black, it's now green. And now we only have our subject in front of a black screen. I'm going to play this back, see if it's okay. Do I need to do some more? So paying attention to the small details of the video, like his fingers, I can see that they're all intact and nothing else is being blacked out. And yeah. But to make sure that I have fully separated my subject from the background, and I'm not leaving some tiny details, you can change it from RGB. Down here you can see the 3 colors. Instead of RGB, go to alpha and just look at your work. Basically what we want is that the subject should be white and the background should be black. So if there's like little white stuff around, you want to make sure that you get rid of them. And I'll show you how to do that. But this is essentially what we want. We want a big separation of black and white. White indicates visibility and black indicates invisibility. Alright, so you can come down here in the screen matte, right below the screen pre-blur. If you had some problems with those little white spots, you can go to screen this spot black or white, whichever you're trying to get rid of. If I go on white and go to the right, you can see I'm kind of removing the white. But if you had like little dots around, you would be getting rid of them. I'm going to turn this back to 0. And if at any point you saw that maybe a part of the hand is not in frame, sometimes this could happen, but it's not that common. Maybe like this part of your subject may fade away, the part that's moving a lot. In this case, that's the finger. Then you can just add to the clip rollback. And you can see I'm kind of sharpening the edges of my clip. I'm going to add a little bit of rollback. 4. You can also add shrink or grow. You can see I'm kind of expanding the guy, and I can shrink it if I'm going on the other side. So again, make sure that your subject is perfectly in frame. I'm going to turn this back to RGB. Have a look at it on the black screen, let it play. And alright, so I can see that there isn't a part of my subject that's being cut off. And I have successfully separated my subject from the background. So now that I have this, I can go ahead and put a background on my subject. I did want to mention something, that if you don't have a green screen, you can also go for a blue screen. Just any color that is completely different, that isn't available in the human complexion. For example, you cannot use white because you can see the highlights are really close to white. And therefore, if you key out the white, you may end up keying out parts of his face. And so the best choice is the green screen. But if you don't have green, you can also use blue, just in case you wanted to record your own videos. And again, make sure that whatever color you're keying out, the person isn't wearing that color. So if I did have a blue screen, these little, I believe they're text, these guys would also be keyed out, and that would be a problem for me. Because then we would have like a hollow space on both sides of his chest. Right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to go back to the project panel and get the background video, put it underneath the guy video. I'm going to wait for this to process. There we are. So you can see I've placed this guy in front of a background. I'm going to name this Park. Alright, but there is a problem. I'm just going to cut this short for like 6 seconds. The problem is that the guy isn't really blending in with the background. First of all, because we have a problem with the distance. They're both in focus, which is not the case with a background video. Usually the background would be blurred because there's a distance between this guy and the tree and the bench, the people. So we need to, number one, blur out the background, and then secondly, match this guy to the background. The reason why we don't do it the other way around is because the background is already edited. You can see it's nicely colored, but the guy is not. You can see that he's kind of faded, and we can maybe make the video of the green screen guy more sharp, add more vibrancy, more contrast, and just some basic color correction. Right, and I'm also going to remove the first part of the background video because there's these two birds flying and it might be a little distracting. So instead, just have birds in the distance flying around. And I don't have any distracting elements that may be confusing for the project. Alright, I'm going to come to the end of my composition and just select both clips. Just do it here. Control-Shift-D or Command-Shift-D. Hit backspace once to remove the extra spaces, and now we just have 6 seconds of the guy and the park. Alright, let's start with the park because it's the easiest. So on park, go to Effect, come down to, if we could just search it in the Effects panel, go to Window, Effects and Presets, and just look for Blur. And I'm going to go with Camera Lens Blur. Just click and drag it on top of Park. You can see it already blurred out. The radius is 5. We could change that. Let's see if that's good. I'm going to go with like maybe 8. Just add a little bit more blurring. And alright. It closes off. So you can see now the background is blurred out, which allows this clip to be more natural. But again, it depends on the camera lens that took this shot, the shot that we're creating. So you don't want to blur it out too much. You want to keep it really minimal. Like right now we added 8. You can go for maybe 4. depending on what you're choosing. And I think I will reduce the blur amount for this. I think it's too much. Let's go for maybe 6. All right, that's better. Now it looks more natural. All right, so the park, that's all there is to it. And make sure that if your subject is standing still and it's not moving around, that means that the camera is on a tripod and it's filming the sky. The same thing is happening with the background image. So we cannot have the sky standing still and then the background just like moving around. By that I mean you get a moving video. Import that. Turn off the visibility for the park and place this below. So you can see it's kind of rendering. Let me put that from the beginning. You can see that the background is moving and the subject is just standing still. You don't want this. If the subject is moving, so should the background. But if the subject is not moving, the background shouldn't move either. So be careful when you're choosing the background clips. Delete that and I'll bring back the park video. So the park video is also still. The camera is still. There's things moving in it. And it would make sense for this guy to just stand in front of all of these background elements to maybe give a high five and then give a thumbs up. Also going to save my project. Make sure you save your project. Again, you never know when you may lose your stuff because of some glitch. Control or Command S to save your project. Alright, now let's go on the guy video. Now we're going to color grade this guy and have it match the background. So again, go to Effects, make sure Guy is selected. Effects, come down to Color Correction and look for Lumetri Color. Alright, I'm just going to close the key light, the tab, Now in the Lumetri Color, we have some options. So let's start with the first one, Basic Correction. This is where you work with the white balance and the tone. And because the background is the reference, you want to look at the background. So in the background, we can see some warmth. And we're going to add that to the guy. Just go in on temperature. Let me try 7. Alright, now the subject is warmer. We're also going to add a green tint. That's what I'm getting from here. So I have to go to the opposite side. Negative side. Let's try maybe 5. Now he's a little green. And actually before I do that, I'm just going to hit Control D to show you guys before and after. Not on the effects. Come down to the timeline, Control D on the guy. And for this guy, let's see. I'm going to, on the first guy, I'm going to delete the Lumetri Color so we can see it before and after. So far, all we did was to add some white balance and yeah, that was a before and after. Not much of a big difference, but we'll look at a before and after. So now down to tone, we said we need to kind of sharpen this guy and add more contrast so it would match with the background. So down here on contrast, you can add the slider to the right. But always start with a small amount. You don't want to go all out. And I'm also going to decrease the exposure a really small amount, like 0.2. Don't want it to be too much. And maybe remove the highlights a bit because it's kind of like a not exactly a sunny day in the background. Let's go for -3. For the shadows, I'm going to darken them, so come to the left. And the whites, I'm going to leave them be. The blacks, I'm going to make them darker as well. So we have some tone changes. Now, one thing that you need to know is that a green screen, unless you take the background and the subject with the exact same lighting and placement, it's going to be kind of obvious that this is a green screen. I don't know if you've noticed online, every green screen video you can see that it's not exactly natural, but we're going to do our best with color correction and see if we can match it. But again, don't think that with just a few color correction it's going to be perfect. You need to kind of plan out the recording so you don't have to do this much post-production editing. Okay, we did the tone, and for the saturation, I think I'll reduce it, go for like 90. Or actually, let's increase it, 110. Okay, now he's vibrant. Let's close the basic correction, come down, let me close this, come down to creative. So here's where you get to fade things, add a look to it, which is just like presets if you want. I'm going to kind of fade out this guy a little bit. Let's go for like 5. All right. And I'm going to sharpen him. 12. The vibrancy is okay. I'm actually going to make this 100 and work with the vibrancy instead of saturation. Saturation tends to get a little bit too intense. And it's always a good idea to start with vibrancy and then add saturation. Also make sure that you're not turning on any of these, or else it would only last for a small amount of time. Alright, then you can add a tint if you want. We have a shadow tint and a highlight tint. Let's go for a warm shadow tint. See how that looks. Drag this guy here. It's really small movement. Highlights, let's go for a green color. Alright, so it's starting to look like it belongs in this background. Close the creative. I'm going to come down to curve. And let's see what we can do. Let me kind of intensify the shadows a bit. Also darken the shadows as well from below. Or actually, let's not do that. Come downwards. And I can see that he's a little green. So I'm going to go into green channel. Instead of down, I'm going to come to the other side. Wait, no, the other side. So we can remove some of that green. But we're really careful with these sliders. He's still a little too green. Let's come down. Alright. Now he's no longer green. He is a little red. So go to red and just go on the cyan side. And now he's balanced. He's no longer green or red. I'm going to come up to the creative and just double click on the plus to reset these, because I already worked with the RGB curves, and just go back in here to the main curve and just kind of bring this lower to again intensify the shadows. I'm going to go into green channel and add some green, actually only affecting his face. Alright, let's come down here. We have some hue and saturations, which we will not touch, but I did want to work with the shadows a bit more. Increase the shadows and instead add some contrast. Just because we didn't really get to see this part of his face. And let's see what else we could do. Let's add a bit more contrast. Alright, let's go down, see if there's anything we could do to make this better. And that's all we need. Close this off. And again, like we said, it's not going to be perfect, but now instead of what we had before, let me see if it will show. This was the before. This is the after. So like the background, it's a bit more intense and the shadows are darkened like it is in the background. Let's let this render and see what we did in this lesson. It's kind of rendering, but this is basically how you remove a green screen. Most of this lesson was the color grading. And the color correction, which again, if you plan this beforehand and use a similar lighting for your subject and the background, you won't have to deal with that. And you saw that we easily removed the green background using one effect, which was the Keylight 1.2. Then after this, we're going to look at another type of green screen, which is on a device, which will be a little bit difficult, but once you know how to key things, it won't be. All right, so this is what we did. It rendered. Just a quick keying and we're done. Now let's bring in the other videos. I'm going to go in project and I'm just going to delete everything. Won't be needing them. Backspace. Yes. Double click and bring in the other two videos, which is this laptop and the moving background. Import that. Right, and I'm going to bring in the laptop first. Now notice that in the laptop we have a green screen and around that we have no greens whatsoever. So we have a white background, we have a gray laptop, we have some skin color, and basically no green. So that's perfect for me to key out the green. Now I did want to mention something. When you're first starting out, make sure that the device you have has sharp corners. Zoom in, you can see sharp corners. Usually when you, especially when you have iPhones, the corners are round. That could get a little difficult to key out. So for starters, make sure that you have sharp edges. Zoom out, fit. And what we're going to do is to, once we've imported, we're going to open another panel, which is called the tracker panel. Basically what it does, let me make this short. You can see that the laptop is moving. It's not exactly still. And we want to make sure that the, let this load actually. Basically when we track things, we want to make sure that whatever we intend to add on that video stays within that frame. So the video we want to add in the laptop screen stays within the laptop edges. Right, it loaded. You can see that the video is shaking and the laptop is not exactly standing perfectly. And this just shows that the video is not shot on a tripod. But this is where the tracker panel comes in handy. I'm gonna stop that and just cut the rest of my clip. Control-Shift-D or Command-Shift-D. And I'm just gonna go to Window, come down to Tracker. The window will open here. I'm just going to drag it up here just so we have our timeline. And what we want to do is to first go on this video. We want to go to track motion. So you can see we open the layer. Make sure the source is the name of your video. We only have one here, so that won't be a problem. And we want to make sure that the track type is perspective corner pin. And we get this tiny pins. Basically what we need to do is to assign each of the corners with the corner of our laptop. You need to zoom in, get the hand tool to kind of move upwards, hit V on your keyboard, and we're going to select this guy. Maybe a little hard, but make sure your cursor is this black color. That way you're going to get the entire thing. Now using that little screen, make sure you are putting that X on the corner, like so. And click away. You can see that the cursor, it has this white thing, but when you use this, you're going to be moving the box, but not the target. So make sure you have a black cursor. Try to get that. There it is. If you zoom in, it's a lot easier. Get that to the other corner. All right, zoom out. Get the hand tool. All right, hit V to get the selection tool. Grab this guy. Again, black cursor, so you're selecting everything in one corner. The hand tool, move to the other corner. grab the final box and just bring it in the corner. Alright, and I'm just going to zoom in to make sure that the box does not let in any of the green. And we're good. Alright, so now that I have selected the corners of my thing, and go from the beginning. And actually not in the beginning. Yeah, just go in the beginning. I'm going to reassign these guys. You can see. Get the black cursor and just put them in the right position. You start from the start, that way you're tracking everything. But if you're starting from the middle, it's only going to track the rest of the video and not the first part. So I'm going back and repositioning these boxes. The other corner, drag this one. And you can see if I go in the middle, I have the white cursor, but if I'm in the center, in between the two boxes, I have the black one. So make sure it's the black one. So you're selecting everything. Now that we have added the thing, before we hit Analyze, or before we ask After Effects to track our screen, we're going to add a solid color so that we know exactly where we tracked. So Control or Command Y, choose a vibrant color that stands out. I'm gonna go for like this purple, just really bright, make sure it's bright. Hit OK. And we're going to go on this video, the computer video, and we're going to go in the motion target. You can see there's something for edit target. Click that and make sure it's on magenta solid 1 or whatever color you chose. But make sure you don't choose green or blue or anything similar to this color. Actually, I think let's close this. Go on this and right, just reset everything. Don't double click your thing. I'm just going to do this again. Yeah, I'm just going to do this again and I'll be right back. Alright, so instead of resetting, it went and created another tracker. Just come back to tracker 1. And source is that. Target. Let's make another one. It's going to go for like red, so it stands out perfectly. Edit target, red solid 1. We're good to go. And then we're going to analyze this guy, analyze forward. And it's just going to do its thing. So don't worry about it. And basically, After Effects is creating keyframes for the computer screen. So whatever you place is going to be placed inside of the frame that you created. And then afterwards, we're just going to apply those frames to the red solid. And then we will easily be able to put our clip on top of that red solid. It's almost done. Let it do its thing and we can get started with adding our clip. Alright. So you can see it's green. That means it analyzed everything. And then if you open this guy up, you can see all of these keyframes. It's so much that it looks like a straight line. Just apply it to the red screen. You can see we have a lot of keyframes. All of these keyframes. Go back. And we do have some position issues. I think it happened when we reset the thing by accident. So I did that again, but before I started tracking, I added the red solid 1, like we said. Now you can see that the screen is red instead of green. Close this off and also hit apply like we did last time. Now this solid, I'm going to click and drag it underneath the red, underneath the laptop video. And we're going to select this laptop video and then add the same key light effect that we set. So go to Effect, Keying, Key Light 1.2. And again, we're going to grab this guy and select the green. Alright, now the green is completely gone. Now what we need to do is to pre-compose the red solid 3. So just right click, go to pre-compose, make sure that this guy is selected, leave all attributes, okay. And now we have this composition of this dude. And basically what we just did, we made this into a separate composition. So whatever we add, we can now keep the video inside. So red solid, just double click, we've entered this guy. And where's the background video? There it is. Just drag that on top. And what you want to do, even if it's like a vertical shot, which it wouldn't be if you're using this laptop, you want to scale it and make sure this guy is covering the red solid. Just increase it like so. So regardless, this is going to fit into the laptop screen. So I'm just going to make sure that it fully does by doing this. Now if we go back here, we have our video. And because my video was already the size for the laptop, I won't have that problem. But if you had maybe a vertical video, then it would kind of be stretched out. So you could use maybe an Android phone. Usually the edges of Android phones are sharp, but since I use this laptop, I will use a landscape shot. Play this back, you can see. We're gonna let it render first. But you saw how easily we were able to place a random video on top of a green screen laptop. And if you want to shoot this yourself, just download a green solid color as an image and then just open it up in your device. Make sure it's full screen. And like we said, it would be best if the corners are sharp because you're just starting out and you just want to practice. And also that there's no random things on top of your screen. So no thumbs, or if there is thumbs, make sure you're not covering the corners. Because like we saw using the tracker, we need to find those corners. And if we don't, then the tracker is not going to work well and we'll have maybe one of the corners is just going to be invisible. And that would be a problem for us. So I'm just going to let this render and then we can see the final product that we did in a few simple steps. Alright, you can see the video is moving and so is the laptop, but the video is still in the frame of the laptop because we used the perspective tracker thing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. This was how you can remove the green screen from 2 different scenarios. And with practice, you'll only get better. And I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. I will see you guys in the next one.